This is Bruno Fernandes, and these are his average SofaScore ratings over the past 12 months. And these are his ratings from all the matches since the 1st of November. And this is how he compares to his teammates. Yet somehow, I'm led to believe that Bruno Fernandes is the main problem and the only problem in Manchester United. So I decided that in this video, I'm going to do a deep dive into how Bruno Fernandes compares to his teammates, both offensively and defensively. But I went further than that, you see, because I also compared him to midfielders in the Premier League and beyond the Premier League who play the same position as he does. When you get to a point where you enjoy the video, do make sure to subscribe to the channel. Now, let us look at Bruno Fernandes' contribution, starting with the number of goals. Remember, Bruno Fernandes is played at Man United as kind of the second pivot alongside Casemiro or Ugarte, because United plays 2 6s, and in front of them there are 2 inverted wingers in Mbeumo and Cunha. So these numbers, getting 5 goals, being the second most goal scorer in a team that has 3 men ahead of him, is just madness to begin with. Shows that he's contributing a lot. And you can see that his XG, expected goals, is actually 6.89, which can be rounded off to just 7. So he's underperforming in terms of that, because that means he has scored 2 less goals than he's expected to have scored. But also you look at Mbeumo, he's the one who's actually overperforming his XG. And then if you look at the number of assists, 5 difference between him and the second place Diallo. Cunha and Mbeumo are both behind him when it comes to the number of assists. He has an expected assist of 3.93. So he's supposed to have just created 4 goals, right? Assisted 4 times, but he's actually assisted more times than that. Why and what does it mean if you're overperforming your expected assist? Bruno has good vision. Even when the ball seems like he's not going to, it's difficult to assist or find a pass in that area, he still finds them. So that is why he's expected to assist only 4 goals, but he's actually managed to assist 7 because, he has good vision. And it doesn't end there, because now, if you look at him compared to the entire Man United team, he actually has the same number of goals and assists as the next 2 people who are behind him. There is Mbeumo and Casemiro. That just tells you how crazy this is. And yet, he's the one who's criticized. But we're not ending there. We're still going to continue and look at the numbers that are, used by people to criticize him. For example, the number of times that he loses the ball. I want you to contextualize this. Bruno, 16.6, rounded off to 17 times he loses the ball. Look at Lamens. Lamens loses the ball 16 times. Now, if we contextualize this, the reason why Lamens is also here in the stat is because he attempts a lot of long balls and he kicks the ball a lot forward when they try to, hit the teams in the spaces that they'll leave behind when they are pressing United. So it's the same thing with Bruno. Since he's a player who always attempts these long balls, like 4.6 per match, which you can round off to 5 long balls per match, obviously he's going to, misplace some of those balls. But at the end of the day, he's the one who can be very deep in his own D-line, but be able to create something for Mbeumo or Cunha or whoever is playing up front. Which now brings us to the defensive part. Tackles per match, Bruno is only 3rd after Casemiro and Luke Shaw. I'm told he's horrible. On top of that, when you look at interceptions per match, you see that there is Matthias de Ligt, who is on 1.2. I am showing you this because Bruno is not in the top 3. He's not in the top 6, but he appears as number 8. But look at the difference in the numbers. You have de Ligt with 1.2, Euro 0.9, Shaw 0.8, and then Mazraoui 0.8, Dalot 0.7. These are defensive players in that backline of United. Casemiro 0.7 and Bruno 0.6. So it's not like there's a huge difference here either. And then you look at the number of clearances. Matthias de Ligt again is just heads and shoulders above everyone else. 5.2, which is just 5 clearances per match. Dalot 3, Lenioro 3, And then you have Mazraoui with 2.4, Maguire 2.3, Luke Shaw 2.1, and then Bruno with 2. Again, you have to contextualize this. People who are clearing the ball are usually where? Closer to the 18 area. And clearances should be the job of the defenders. You can't be blaming a midfielder, yes, a defensive midfielder as they are playing him right now, but it's not really the one whose primary job is to be a defensive midfielder, because he's paired with someone who's more defensive than him. So, that makes sense. But still, he's not that far behind, because you can even see this is from a game against Brighton, against Bournemouth. So the blue ones are the clearances. So 5 clearances inside his own box, 3 recoveries, those are the green ones, and then the orange ones are the tackles. I then compared Bruno to the other players who are playing in his position. Caicedo, because he's the main defensive midfielder for Chelsea, but now since he plays with Reece James, he also goes forward. Declan Rice, there is a defensive midfielder at Arsenal, Zubimendi, so Rice goes box to box, which is what you also see from Bruno, and then Amadou Onana also goes forward. And also because of this, if you look at their heat maps, you can clearly see that all these 3 players are occupying the same space. Now, if you look at the minutes, he has played more than all of them, which, by the way, is another thing that I think is underrated. Bruno is always available for United, always, since he arrived, always available. That is something that people, I think, don't value as much. Players who are always available give a team that thing of consistency, and they are dependable. If you look at the passes and the attacking numbers as a whole, you will see that Bruno is the one who he clears them. More assists per game, more expected assists. So attacking wise, Bruno Fernandes is just clear of all of them. But this is where the problem starts. When you look at the defending part, less interceptions, less tackles per game, less clearances, less block shots. So we can clearly see that defensively he's not that great. So I decided to expand the search to other midfielders in Europe as well. And this is what you see. He is actually not that great when it comes to the defensive part. You see that in everything else, 191%, 199. This tells me that people might be blaming Bruno for not really being at the same level of defending as you'd expect other people in that role, but it's actually not his position. I would get it if people were complaining about Bruno not giving them anything defensively and also not giving them anything offensively, but it's giving them a lot offensively, and it's just doing enough defensively. So maybe, just maybe, this is not Bruno's fault, but Ruben Amorim. But then again, what can he do? Because he's not going to bench Cunha and play Bruno in that position. He's not going to bench Mbeumo and play Bruno in that position. He's just not going to do it. And he's not going to play Bruno as a false 9, because now who's going to create for everyone else? So the only choice or only position that Bruno can really play is exactly where he's playing right now, if they want to maximize the system that Ruben Amorim wants to play. But what do you guys think? Have you subscribed? Do so if you haven't. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye.